This is Kimberly Quinn, host of the Mindcraft podcast, and I can't tell you how much fun I have had doing this podcast. I started when the world closed over the pandemic in an attempt to spread some positivity out there and give people some strategies to enhance their own well being and reduce anxiety and all of that. Now, 2 years later, we're still going strong and now listened to by 52 countries across the world. And I've even helped some of my students get going with their own podcasts. It's super easy to do. And I'll tell you, if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it is the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. I'll just explain for you. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It is a ball. Start today. Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another hopefully insightful discussion on another Minecraft discussion on all things well-being. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am thrilled to have a chat today with you about, you know, when is enough enough? And I'm talking about living by knowing when to stop, living by knowing when to stop and evaluating our lives, because it's amazing when we actually take a good look at what's important to us, things change. And of course, we know, and Wayne Dyer talks about this a lot. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, only with a splash of evaluation of what we truly value the most in our lives. And of course, Wayne Dyer is one of my great teachers. I listen to several of them every single day, and then I've got like a list, of top and then next and next, and they're all really very good. But Wayne Dyer also is the author of "Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life," and it's about the wisdom of the Tao. And so, I just love this, knowing when to stop, because it seems like we're typically full throttle go. It's kind of the opposite. And so Wayne starts out by saying the 44th verse of the Tao tells you that changing the way you prioritize your life ensures a fruitful one. He says, I call it enough is enough section of the Tao Te Ching. When you update your view of the most important things in your life, the world around you is going to seem very different. Lao Tzu is urging you to look into your heart and examine what is truly important. And this may sound silly, because we go day to day, kind of doing what we're doing, but to actually sit down and even to write it down, because there's so much power in the word. And when we sort of, I don't like the word force, let's say strongly encourage ourselves to sit down and actually write and keep it private, right? Because if we're truly honest with ourselves, often where we are putting the most life minutes is really not that important. And we don't often realize that until we put it in writing. And there are, of course, reasons for this. We have anxiety and stress and which are different, and depression, and we have just plain old excitement, and we have autopilot. Autopilot is just the number one thief of our valuable life minutes. And if we don't stop to make a conscious effort to really thoroughly examine where the majority of our life minutes are going, they're going straight down the rabbit hole, and that is the truth. And Wayne, just like many of the other great thinkers, talks about our main mission, really, being connecting with the divine force that connects us all. I mean, any of the great thinkers that I read about talk about this. I mean, they all do. Wayne, and of course, my beloved Oprah, and Eckhart Tolle, and Dr. Jakes, and there's just so many of them who talk about this. So the essential, getting to know the divine in me, the divine in you, that connects all of us, main mission. And then what feeds into that essential, getting to know your essential self, getting to know the truest, highest version of yourself. Wayne says, knowing when to stop is part of this path that leads you to your most, your highest version of yourself. He says, where the need for fame and possessions is non-existent, You see, it's not the things or even a desire for recognition that keeps you from a living connection with the Tao. It's your attachment to them that gets in the way. We've been talking a lot about attachment and um, attachment happiness. And the thing is, that's all fleeting. If we're attached to things, we're attached to situations, even attached to people. And I don't mean that in a, because remember, love and attachment are not the same and actually opposite, right? Because love is freeing. We can even detach with love. And my example in the episode that we did was occasionally, we have parents who have maybe a young adult raised well, was lived in a very loving, kind home, financially secure, and all that stuff, and they go down the path of addiction. Well, you can get to a point where you can't keep giving money and rescuing and saving, and you have to let him or her or them bottom out and get into a rehab where they need to be, kind of thing. That's a situation of detaching with love. You love them so much that you have to detach. Like, that's just an example. So um attachment to things and situations and whatever is what can really gets in the way and actually causes us suffering. It's also very Buddhist. It gets in the way, um and causes us discomfort and misery when we're attached. And I really like what Wayne has to say next. He says, so shift the importance you place on success or belongings, which has obscured your connectedness to the Tao. The Tao. Begin to note the senselessness of demanding more, exhausting yourself in pursuit of what keeps you trapped in a vicious cycle of striving and never arriving. I love how he says that, striving and never arriving, or trying to find fulfillment. It, he says, this verse implores you to know when to stop. This also, leads me right into, the dis-ease, the dis-ease of wanting that is so prevalent, at least here in the States. It's so prevalent. And I like how Wayne says it, we're just in this striving mode, like hamster wheel, never actually arriving at whatever it is that we're, chasing. And honestly, I think we're surrounded by this every day. If you really listen, sometimes it's on a subtle level, good people, and on a subtle level, they'll just with the mindset of, just that continued reach. And he says, I'm sure you can easily see people in your environment who spend their entire lives seeking more of everything, more possessions, money, recognition, awards, friends, places to go, substances, food, you name it. He says, and if you live with the same philosophy, you've signed up for a life of frustration and dissatisfaction because the search itself becomes your jailer. Wow. When I read that a while ago, I thought that is so spot on accurate. And just remember that the ego is the evil twin of the authentic self. So the ego is the one that needs all the kudos and appreciation, and it's constantly trying to fill itself up with all this stuff. It's also important to know, remember we said, like, oh, because you might be thinking, ooh, well, I'm not going to be sitting in a cave, palms up with a candle eating yogurt. What about for us regular people? Instead of talking about being a Zen monk or something, I am talking about regular people, actually. And this mindset is a jailer. It's pushing happiness over the cognitive horizon. It's, constantly, we get that one chocolate chip cookie, you gotta reach for a next one. And it's constant. So here's the thing. Remember when we talk about the authentic self and living inside our frames and talking about, the external approval and the needs, all the needs are outside, can be outside of us. The authentic self, we can still, achieve, receive awards, receive kudos for this and that. The difference is we're not looking for it. It's, of course, it feels good to hear compliments and it feels good to get awards. I just got one last week. It felt great. I had no idea it was coming. It was about the culture of well-being at Champlain. I had absolutely no idea it was coming. And it was just a wave of loveliness just warmed over me, surrounded by colleagues and clapping. It was amazing. The difference is when we're living inside our frames, it feels good, of course, but we're okay without it. We're okay with or without it. We're the same inside the frame versus, as Wayne says, this constant hamster wheel of striving. Striving is just, um, it's just this constant dissatisfied place. And when we live in our frame with our authentic selves and feeling whole and complete, we can accomplish all this stuff without the discomfort part. So what we're talking about is mindset, and there are different, different labels for mindset. Work of Carol Dweck, growth versus fixed mindset. There's just a general mindset of gratitude, which is huge, and mindset is absolutely everything. So again, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. That is what we're talking about, and we are the captains of this ship. We the artists of that canvas. We can shape our lives any way we want to. And so Wayne continues to say, it's easy to see then why Lao Tzu advises you that what you gain is far more trouble than what you lose. When you prioritize your life, you find that love and a feeling of abundance are not only what you desire, but these two principles are instantly available because you've changed the way you look at the world. From this new perspective, you'll feel totally loved and wealthy in all ways. Oh my God, truth right there. So we're talking about, the thrill of the chase, really. I don't know if you've ever met anybody like this, but I have. I've met people sometimes who, like when they're dating or when they're in the pursuit and they've got a huge, they're crushing on somebody and they really like somebody, they are in this, when they're in the chase, they're thrilled. They're like at top tier, you know, seemingly happiness and satisfaction when they actually, actually catch that person. Often they're not as happy, and that always when I meet people like that, that always just kind of amaze me. And so Wayne says, if the chase is wearing out your health, stop. If the chase, things or situations, whatever, if the chase is wreaking havoc on your relationships, stop. If the chase is exhausting you, stop. If the chase is keeping you from enjoying your life, oh, that's huge. Stop. When you know when to cease and desist, you're protected from all those perils, and you'll enjoy a long and connected existence with being connected to the Tao or divinity, the divine, the universe, the divinity that connects us all. And here's another thing, just like anything else in life, we've talked about this. What we practice, we inevitably get better at. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's playing the violin, learning Italian, robbing banks, whatever. If we put enough time and energy, pour enough of our life minutes into something, we will get better at it. And Wayne says, we can practice knowing when to stop. We can practice letting go of attachments. Here you go, you can have it kind of thing. Just letting go. And he says, alert yourself to recognizing when it's a good time to stop demanding, chasing, talking, walking, working, sleeping, playing, shopping, complaining, striving, and so on. By practicing cessation, you'll move into prioritizing what's important in your life in that moment. And he brings the mindfulness piece in it, which is so important in general, to just be here now, be present now. And then he asks, is your business doing well? Let it stop growing. Is your stomach full? Quit eating right now. Do you have enough money saved? Give some of it away without taking deductions or asking for credit for your generosity. The more you're attached to needing and wanting and possessing, the more you lose in your relationship to the to the Tao. It's hard for me to say because it's a T, but you pronounce it like a D. Tao. But when you know the time to stop, you say goodbye to the troubles that accrue for those who sacrifice arriving for a lifetime of striving. Sacrifice arriving for a lifetime of striving. No, thank you. And even just in a materialistic sense, if somebody walks in and says, "Oh, gee, I really like that," see if you can part with it. Yeah, I really like it too, but you can say that in your head so they don't feel badly. Say, you know what? I'd really like you to have that. And check out the good feeling that comes from that. And even in the detaching and letting go thing, it also leads to the whole feng shui decluttering principle, because clutter on the inside causes clutter on the outside, and the reverse. Clutter on the outside causes clutter on the inside. We can just, the fewer attachments we have, the happier and freer we are, because we're not trapped in this striving. It frees up our minds and brings inner peace. And then we'll just wind up with a personal task to see, for all of us to try today. Just, I'm a big fan of baby steps. Just take little bites like snack size Halloween pieces. And so with some examples. So Wayne gives us some examples to try this out today, to practice knowing when to stop. Okay. And he says, pick an area of your life to practice releasing an attachment by deciding when to stop. For example, plan to leave 10 minutes before you think you're done at the grocery store, or refrain from buying anything else that's not on your list. That's one I'm going to try. That is mine. That right there. I'm a definite last minute, yeah, that's me. Okay, so another one at work, restrain yourself from getting another cup of coffee or writing one more personal email. In a relationship, don't say anything else in a discussion that's going nowhere. And these are all examples of less is more, which is what we're talking about, right? Less is more. So that's it. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.